Welcome closers and contractors to the Profits for Sanity podcast. I'm your host, Dominic Caminata, CEO of Grosso University and industry-leading sales trainer. In the world of business, as you already know, we firmly believe that volume is for vanity and profit is for sanity. And the goal of this show is very simple. We're going to bring on the brightest minds in the home improvement industry that can educate you exactly how to grow and scale a more profitable business. And today is absolutely no exception. We have an extraordinary guest that I've had the honor of knowing since 2019. Her name is Sheila Hibl. She's the owner of Exterior Pros, located right next door here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And her journey has been very inspiring for me to watch as she has become an absolute powerhouse in the home improvement industry. And she's very well known by many people that I respect, and she has made quite a name for herself in this industry. And she's going to share some of the lessons learned in her journey into owning a home improvement business and ultimately how you can grow and scale a more profitable company. So Sheila, I just want to thank you, of course, for driving from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hopefully there wasn't too much traffic here.
No, it wasn't bad. Thanks so much for having me.
Just over an hour away. So Sheila, a lot of people do know you, but for those watching this podcast that have never heard of Sheila Hibl before, I guess explain, how did we get here to owning a home improvement business? What did that journey start like? Because from my experience, as we talked about earlier, a lot of people I talked to seem to have stumbled upon this by accident.
Exactly. That's exactly how it happened to me as well. My background is in finance and insurance. And I used to field calls from my clients that had suffered damage to their homes from storm-related claims like wind and hail damage. And through those experiences with working with my clients, with the insurance company, claims department process, and as well as some very subpar contractors out in the market, I could see there was a real need in the storm restoration part of the business for someone to help the customers with both claims process and also find quality contractors. So in 2012, Exterior Pros was started as a storm restoration company, and through hiring sales reps and making connections, we then evolved into in-home sales as well, which we call our retail division now. And we expanded products and added a whole nother division of sales reps that do in-home consultation with homeowners.
That's crazy how far advanced you were in that capacity, because it seems to me like a good percentage of the industry now is kind of waking up and seeing that the storm business is, I don't want to say it's dying, but it's definitely struggling, especially with insurance companies denying claims. And we get a lot of companies now that come to us trying to convert from storm restoration to retail sales. But you made this decision a long time ago to really pursue both. So you can obviously farm when business is good and do the insurance work, but you can also go hunting for your business, be more self-sustainable in that retail capacity. How do you feel that decision was clear to you in the beginning? Was it just because of the lack of professionalism you saw and experience from your previous career? I guess, what was that turning point moment where you're like, getting into retail sounds like a really smart idea?
Well, it was more about people that I met that were doing in-home. They didn't know what the storm side was. They just knew how to go in and present a product and pitch it and sell it to customers. So really just with brainstorming, starting two different divisions just was sort of a natural conclusion, because you're right, storm-related work is storm dependent. So, you're relying on weather-related events. So it was kind of more of like, something we could do year round no matter what, and add products like windows, because windows are never really part of a storm restoration project, but there's a huge need for windows.
Okay, now you started primarily in roofing and now Exterior Pros. What are all the different product verticals that you specialize in now?
Yes, roofing, siding, gutters, gutter protection, and then windows, doors, and wet space bath.
And then what percentage of your business now is roofing compared to windows, compared to like baths and stuff like that?
So roofing and windows are dollar for dollar, pretty even, and our top two products. We do more window projects, but the average ticket is smaller, followed by siding, and then baths, and then our gutters and leak protection or gutter protection are the least.
This is a funny question, it just popped in my head, but I always like to know, like, what inspired the whole theme of Exterior Pros? Was it, again, going back to all the poor, like, professionalism and craftsmanship you saw from your time in insurance? Like, I want to bring some professionalism to the industry. Was that kind of what inspired that name?
Yeah, it was really just the homeowners that we were working with that had this damage and needed it replaced, and working with the insurance companies And, you know, seeing some of them, the way they were mistreated through the claims process, not treated fairly. So there was that part of it, like wanting to help them get what they deserved and what they've been paying insurance premiums for. And then there was this other side, once they were approved, to hire a contractor of their choice and not knowing who to turn to. Do they just go on Craigslist at that time, which many of them did and ended up getting burned? So it was really just about having more of being the middleman that could help them facilitate, you know, the claim process with their insurance company and educate them on that part, and then also find and vet qualified contractors that could do the work and not, you know, leave them stranded.
Yeah, because I just think the whole name Exterior Pros is just a very strong name. And obviously that brand is now being recognized amongst the industry. So you've done a great job there. And of course, with any business, you have multiple pillars to success. Of course, we have marketing, we have sales, we have operations. You have a lot of moving parts, and that only gets more complex as the company grows and scales. And you experience a lot of growth and success since 2012. So kind of starting off with marketing, you know, the thing I like about this show is I get people that are actually active in the business, in the trenches. Again, we don't have to share everything, but sharing some of the things that are working for them. And of course, as we know, every market or territory can be different. You know, I talk to some companies and they swear by direct mail, and some companies swear by television or social media or Facebook. Some swear by canvassing. I was just talking to a company the other day. They do $7 million a month in canvassing. It's like, holy crap. So we never know, but just curious, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Exterior Pros, what you're involved in, what are some of the marketing strategies that you see working for you? And what are some of the things you see absolutely not working?
Well, this year, our marketing team has put a tremendous focus on the digital space. Things such as short videos, reels, as they call them, blogs, before and after posts, things like that. Facebook, Instagram, I think we're on Twitter. I don't really know that. TikTok, I saw us on the other day. So it's pretty cool to see those things.
Do people still call it Twitter? Is it X now?
I don't even know.
I don't even know. Is it still called a tweet?
Right? My marketing people are a lot younger than I am, so that's good. So those efforts this year have grown our organic social media traffic and the leads that come from that tremendously. So that's been the main focus, and we've definitely been seeing a return on investment for those efforts. Other things that work for us, we do still purchase leads from lead aggregators. We have events. You know, we try to be at as many events with our events team. We do all the home shows, of course, and
do you do like a lot of fairs and festivals, anything of that nature, like rock concerts and stuff, or?
No rock concerts, but that's a good idea. Yeah. We do fairs, festivals, farmers markets, of course, all the home shows and the big county fairs and things like that. Some sporting events.
Was there any event that surprised you where it's like, you know, we'll just entertain this, we'll attend and see what happens, and then all of a sudden you got like a big influx of leads from it?
Bacon Fest.
Bacon Fest?
Bacon Fest. I think it's in Elkhorn, but it was surprisingly a huge success for us. It didn't cost very much.
I haven't ever heard of Bacon Fest, and Elkhorn is like an hour and a half for me.
So funny story about Bacon Fest is we had a woman approach our booth and we were handing out scratch-off tickets. And it was for her daughter that needed windows. So she scratched off the ticket. Then her husband approached and was like, yeah, we need windows. Let me go into those scratch-offs. And then she was like, no, we're setting this for our daughter. So they ended up scratching one as well. So we ended up selling to the mother and the daughter, 2 separate households full of windows. And at the time, I was actually in the market for a new vehicle, and the woman that we sold the windows to was selling her vehicle that I liked, and I ended up buying her vehicle. Yeah. So.
Wow. So that's why you should all attend Bacon Fest.
Yeah,
your local Bacon Fest in the area. But, you know, the whole point, I talk about this a lot, like at the tail end of my career at Mad City, we were in 630 events in 1 year. And there's just so much opportunity there in face-to-face. Mm-hmm. And you never know, like when you meet someone face-to-face, what could transpire in those relationships. And clearly that's a good case in point, where you have multiple projects and they end up being somebody that you end up buying a car from or whatever. But it's always interesting to me. And, you know, in terms of marketing, that's the biggest thing that I keep hearing, because I try to look for patterns, you know, what's working, what's not working. And one of the things that seems to be separating companies that are really doing well and companies that are still trying to ramp things up is content creation. A lot of companies are investing in content. whether it be YouTube channel, whether it be social media, filming jobs, taking customers along the journey. Look at what happened to HGTV, how that blew up. People love watching the transformation occur. They like seeing the behind the scenes, what's happening. And of course, content's going to benefit you in every capacity. If you want really good content for your website, if you want content for your in-home presentation for your sales pros to show to the homeowner. Because every customer ultimately needs to be able to play that movie in their mind of all the wonderful things that are going to happen when they finally call exterior pros, get you in the home to actually start tearing their house apart and put it back together. The more content I have out there in all the different channels, regardless of what you do, content matters. And I've seen companies that have their own podcasts like this, companies where they have their own radio talk show, and they become almost like a trusted expert. But the whole moral of the story is, I think, investing in quality content, especially for your digital marketing engine, it's really at this point non-negotiable anymore, I don't think. It's like if you want people to see you and you want to be known in the world, it's important that you start documenting your projects, you start getting that content out there and leverage all this. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for organic marketing that really doesn't cost a whole hell of a lot. You just got the upfront investment of investing in content.
Yep, 100%. We invested in some drones. We invested in some GoPro cameras. And we have our marketing team that's on site filming those things, editing them, and making the short videos. And it's been a huge success for us.
Nice. So in terms of marketing, what's one of the most unique or innovative strategies you feel that you took advantage of that maybe surprised you or generated better results than you initially anticipated?
Our marketing team does a great job of creating promos around like holidays and local events and things like that. So we had a really successful campaign for Mother's Day, for bath promo for Mother's Day. Yep. We also did a campaign for 4th of July for active military and veterans, which was a huge success. So our team does a really good job about trying to come up with promos that relate to different people, different backgrounds, and different places in their life for different products.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So obviously the right promo, the right call to action at the right time to trigger a response and obviously get people to come to your business. And are you doing this mainly on social media and on your website, or are you doing some stuff on the radio or television as well?
We do dabble in radio a little bit, especially around the holidays where we are doing a big promo such as Mother's Day or 4th of July. Otherwise, it's mainly organic social media, a little bit of pay-per-click, and a lot of events.
Okay, excellent. And then in terms of marketing, a lot of companies have their own opinions on what a really good percentage spend is on marketing. And you don't have to disclose where you're at exactly, but I've talked to some people, they're at a 30% cost of marketing, and then some are at a 7% cost of marketing. And some people swear, as long as I'm under 12%, do you have any goal in mind or range where it's like, hey, as long as I'm at this percentage in terms of my all-in cost of marketing, whatever my marketing mix is, this is really our goal at Exterior Pros. Do you have a number in mind that you think is really healthy for you?
Yes, our target is 10 to 12%, but if we get to 15 in some months, it's okay because we have the room for that. The main thing, though, I feel is what is all included in that. I go to a lot of conferences and different shows and things like that, and there's a lot of inconsistencies on what people count in their marketing budget. We count everything. We count the phone system, the software that the setters are using, the softwares that the canvassers are using, all the lead eggs, any of the lead filtering software that you need nowadays to be compliant. All that stuff is very expensive. That's all in our marketing spend. It's all included. So I know that some companies take software and put it to a different line, and so maybe their spend is coming in sub 10 or sub 7 or whatever. But it just doesn't matter what the number is. It's all in how your company structure is.
Yeah, 100%. And Rick Grosso always preached, the best way to lower your cost of marketing is to make sure that you're converting on the leads that you have. And of course, we know that having a specially trained sales team, having an army of sales warriors that are following a system is a benefit. So now transitioning in from marketing to sales, of course, I got a lead. What are some of the things you've implemented in your organization to make sure that those precious leads are being properly converted on? So we're not just throwing money out into no man's land hoping that something sticks, right?
Right. So it starts with the lead set, actually. So we have a scripted process that our marketing team follows for setting the lead to make sure that it's qualified or as qualified as possible for our sales team. And then that also includes a confirmation process the day before the lead is to run to make sure nothing that has changed on the homeowner's end of things. So once that's all taken care of, then the qualified appointment is issued to a sales rep that goes out, that specializes in that particular product, and then they help the customer solve the problem with one of our permanent solutions.
Exactly. So how important do you think sales process is, whether, you're an interior, exterior, regardless of the product, having a step-by-step process that your salespeople are held accountable to?
Oh, it's key. We have been long-term friends and clients of Grosso University, as you know, and it's game changer. Our sales reps go through the 2-week sales academy when they're brand new. They have to pass the exam with 85% or better to continue employment with us. And then from there, they work with our sales manager alongside of Grosso University to fine-tune their skills and help them meet their full potential in the sales process. So without that, the amount of money that you would waste on just going back time after time, it's not relationship building, like business to business or anything like that. Marketing is expensive. So when you have a proven sales process and the sales team follows it, has buy-in to it, it makes things like marketing budgets and spends all fall into line.
Yeah, and when was your first exposure to the Grosso training? You attended some Rick Grosso closers camps in the past, right?
You're exactly right. I heard the name Rick Grosso from someone in the industry, and then I heard it again, and then I heard it again. So I Googled him and found that he was doing an owner's camp. I think it was in Atlanta at the time. Flew out, attended one of his owner's camp. It was very eye-opening, though, like on the owner side of it. That's really how I have my business modeled right now as far as percentages for overhead. We talked about marketing spend, commissions, that kind of stuff, is that my whole business is modeled off of what I learned from Rick back then. And he became a consultant of ours, came into Milwaukee, did a closers camp for us and a boot camp and all those things. And then moving on from there, once Grosso University was born, we immediately jumped on the opportunity to become a client with Grosso University and never looked back. And now it's just very systematic. Whenever we want to build or add to our team, or if we downsized it all and want to replace, it's just such a simple process to be able to plug and play with the sales academy and then have them support our sales manager after that.
Excellent. No, we definitely appreciate it. I mean, you were at our first camp in 2019, right?
Yep.
What was your first impression seeing this bald guy up on stage singing karaoke to Freddie Mercury?
It was so awesome. I wish all conferences and conventions were that fun.
Yeah, and I've been started to implement T-shirt cannons into our events too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We just want it to be a memorable experience on top of a world-class education. Yeah. So of course, you have a team of specially trained sales professionals. We want to try to keep that marketing spend in check. So how do we properly benchmark our sales team to ensure that I am realizing the right return on investment for every precious lead that comes in?
So we run by like a slug or NSLI system. So for every lead that's issued, they're expected to bring back X amount in business. And the leads are precious. They know that. So we just basically have the benchmarks of, minimum NSLI that's expected. And, if they are struggling, we do things like ride-alongs, coaching, one-on-one role-playing, those types of things to help them get to where they need to be.
There's a lot of companies and owners that may be watching this that don't have any benchmark at all for their sales team. Because I talked to some companies, they're like, well, as long as they're closing at over 30% or whatever. So if I'm in the beginning stages of trying to establish an NSLI or a slugging average, do you have any simple tips or pointers that an owner could put to work for them? Be like, this is a really good way to start off establishing a benchmark for your team, whether it's you base it on a cost of marketing. Some people say, you want a 10-to-1 ratio against your average cost per issued lead. Some people say, well, just start off as a percentage of your average sale and go from there. Do you have any advice for new people that say, okay, I'm just going to now implement a benchmark of NSLI for the first time? How can they make sure that benchmark is a good solid number to start from?
Exactly what you just said. We use the 10-to-1 off of the issue lead.
Okay, so if I'm spending $400 per every issued lead, then I'm going to start at 4,000
NSLI. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you find that having that NSLI benchmark just makes it real easy then to hold the team much accountable to a performance metric versus only focusing on closing or all the, because it kind of is all encompassing?
It is. It's like a batting average. It's like one number you can glance at and you know if someone's doing well or not. Yeah. The closing percentage obviously is a thing. Demo percentage is a thing. You know, all those things play a part. Cancellation rate, all those different things play a part. But the NSLI is just like at a snapshot. You can just look and see if someone is doing well. And even if they're doing well, they're at benchmark for NSLI or even above, you can still look at those other things, closing, cancellation rate, those types of things, and still try to work with them in those areas. But you can see with the NSLI that who needs your immediate help.
Yeah. We are pleased to announce our all-new Grosso University 60-Day Challenge. For the first time ever, we are inviting companies nationwide to enroll a salesperson and a sales leader into our next Sales Academy Masterclass absolutely free. Our team of legendary trainers will take them through our comprehensive 2-week sales training where every student will be tested and certified as a sales warrior. After the live training event, every sales warrior will also receive a full 60-day trial access to all of our Sales Academy Masterclass services, which will give them access to our industry-leading online sales training platform, access to our live weekly sales meetings from our certified coaches, and one-on-one product-specific training and support to guarantee that every salesperson truly turns into a shining star in the industry. The best part is you can experience all of this training absolutely free with no obligation. Schedule a call today with one of our representatives and learn how Grosso University can easily become the sales training arm of your business and take your company to the next level.
I'm honored to announce that this November 14th and 15th, Grosso U will be hosting our 3rd annual Growth and Profitability Summit. Join us at the stunning Omni Resort and Spa in Amelia Island. You'll learn all about lead generation and conversion, leveraging the latest and greatest technologies, and the proven strategies for streamlining your operational efficiency. Network with industry leaders, forge valuable relationships, and return back to your business equipped to make 2025 a year of abundance and prosperity. Are you ready to build an apex level company? Reserve your seat at the Agogi Growth and Profitability Summit today and lead the future of the home improvement industry.
And NSLI is helpful for benchmarking a salesperson, and it's also, for a lot of organizations, is helpful for establishing management or sales leadership and giving them a performance-based comp plan. So I know many companies, when they hire a new sales manager or sales leader, they base their compensation off of NSLI and volume. It's kind of a combination. So I mean, me personally, my journey, that's how I was motivated and inspired to be a performance coach, because I knew the higher that NSLI was, the more money I could stand to make. And every single year trying to raise the bar, not only by way of volume, but also NSLI profitability. Because I find that NSLI number really is the only one metric that tells the whole story. Because I talk to owners, sometimes they say, well, we only base it on closing percentage. I'm like, well, let me give you 2 different examples of salespeople. You have one sales rep at 20% closing and one at 40% closing. So as far as you guys know, the 40% closer is way better, right? But what if the 40% closer is selling every job for cost and they have an average sale of $5,000? But then the 20% closer is selling every job loaded with profit and their average sale is $30,000. So now which salesperson would you prefer? So closing doesn't necessarily tell the whole picture, whereas NSLI is a much more all-encompassing metric to hold them accountable to. And I just like that it's crystal clear, line in the sand. There's no question. You have to be above this to maintain employment. And that's really up to leadership then, whether you're an owner of a business or a manager overseeing a team. What I used to like to do when I'm waking up in the morning, brewing my morning coffee, pull a sales efficiency report. I had a red highlighter. I'm highlighting in red all the reps that are beneath that NSLI and slugging. I'm getting on a call with them. And like you said, teeing up ride-alongs. We need to be proactive about our post-training molding support and lane assist. So I guess, how long would you say a rep would go below a sub NSLI, below their benchmark, before they would start getting rode with or eventually terminated? I guess, how long would you tolerate poor performance, for example?
Yeah, so right out of Sales Academy, there's some lenience because they've just learned a lot. They've just taken an exam, they've just memorized a lot of things, and now it's going into some product training. Now they have to learn, they learned how to sell something, now what do we sell? So we do have some lenience for the first 30 to 60 days. First of all, they don't even start running leads for probably 3 to 4 weeks out of Sales Academy once they've learned at least a product or two and can, demo that. So then after that, once they start running leads, the first month that they start running leads, there's some leniency for benchmark. We allow it to be lower than the benchmark NSLI. The whole goal, though, for us, especially our sales manager, is he seeing improvements? Is the coaching working? So even if they're not quite at benchmark yet, but they're still fairly new, but what he's coaching them on and suggesting they are implementing in live appointments and seeing success, that's really what we focus on. Now, if you have been selling for quite a while and you just hit a slump, usually you bounce back the next month. So we really don't. It's more just about encouraging. Can we support you? What can we do? Can we do some role playing? Can we do ride along? That kind of stuff. After that point, if it's a 2-month slump, then it's more conversational. It's ride alongs. It's role playing. It's assignments. It's those kinds of things.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I preach to sales leaders is try to take a positive approach to everything that you do, because the tendency for leaders is when a sales rep is not performing, it's a lot of negative pressure to perform, almost threats to perform, like either pick it up a notch or you're fired. And that's not going to motivate anybody, right? This is a very stressful job. It's very difficult. So trying to figure out a positive, supportive approach to everything you're doing. But again, benchmarks matter. So, and this is one thing that companies need to make sure that benchmarks are being enforced, because if no one takes benchmarks seriously, that can also cause your sales culture, your whole sales empowerment to unravel. It essentially kind of weakens the sales force over time. So the policy that I always told my salespeople is, if you go 1 month without hitting your NSLI, again, it happens, right? We all have a bad month. I've had plenty of bad months in my career. But just to let you know that we'll probably bring you in for some training, may tee up some ride-alongs, because we don't want this to carry on for months and months. Now, a lot of times, if it's 2 months without hitting their numbers, they'll probably get some sort of written notice like, hey, it's been 2 months without hitting your benchmarks, time to pick it up. We'll definitely tee up some additional ride-alongs, make sure we can coach you in the right direction. Because again, we're investing in you. This is not our sink or swim organization. Certainly, if it's 3 months consecutively without hitting your benchmarks, usually that's the final written warning, and then it's like a 2-week notice. We're going to give you 2 more weeks to show us some life, show us you can meet and exceed this benchmark. And if we're not seeing that after 2 weeks, it will result in termination. And we're still investing in them, we're still coaching them, riding with them. But it's funny, when I wrote up that 2-week notification, how the leads got better. All of a sudden they're like, okay, red alert's going off, I need to pick it up a notch here. But then, your tolerance for poor performance sets a standard in your organization. So I got to balance. The leadership is such a dichotomy, right? Because I want to be their cheerleader. I want to keep them inspired. I want to be a positive, inspirational figure to my team. But I also have to enforce benchmarks as well. Because the simple fear of losing their employment is a motivator. And it's not one I want to leverage all the time, but it is a motivator. And then, of course, the positive hope of gain, the reward of excelling, and the recognition they achieve, which is huge, right?
Yeah.
So on that topic, and again, this is something that just popped in my head because this is something that everybody I feel could benefit from. What are some creative ways that you do recognize performance, not just in sales, but just across your company, to keep people happy, keep people motivated, keep them inspired, whether it be sales or marketing? What are some things you've done to recognize employees you feel was powerful?
We do a lot of things. On the sales side of things, we constantly have little goals, team goals, a little competitions to keep things fun and light, friendly competition. And it's nice because if a team hits a goal, if you contributed at all to it, even if it was one small gutter cap, $5,000 sale, you're part of the winning team. So it really helps with morale and those types of things. We do things weekly where we recognize weekly performance, so closing percentage, NSLI, low cancellation rates, things like that, where at the Monday morning sales meeting, everyone that hits those categories or exceeds them, we pass around a bucket full of scratch-off tickets, and they can win cash, for gas money. Gas is expensive.
Yeah, it is.
So those are fun little things we do. On a monthly basis, we recognize 3 categories, and it could be 3 different people that win, or it could be one person that wins all 3, or 2 people. It is highest slug over what our benchmark slug is. It's highest closing rate over what our benchmark closing rate is. And it's highest average sale over what our average sale is. So those are 3 categories. And so on the second Monday of every month, we have 3 big boxes, and we call them cash grabs. And there's anywhere from $250 to $1,200 in these holes that are covered with paper. And so they get to punch. They're all numbered. They get to punch and grab cash out of it. So that's really fun,
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff like that. We do a ton of cookouts. And I close the company a day every single year, close the entire company, and we all go to a Brewer game. We tailgate. So our production team, all 40, we have 40 employees currently, all 40 of them made it. 2 people were on vacation, that was it. Otherwise, we had 100% attendance. We do things in the call center for same day, next day sets to fill the calendars, constantly cash spiffs and different things like that. So constantly rewarding things. We have a group chat with different departments, and one that is the entire company is on one chat. We recognize anything on there. If we got positive feedback from a customer about an installer or a sales rep or a great phone experience or anything like that, we post it on there and we give praise because that is all the little things that help us be who we are.
Yeah, that's amazing, because that's where a lot of companies fall short in this industry is they don't have that buzzing, positive, inspirational environment where people come, they enjoy what they do, they love what they do, they get recognized. Because I don't care how much money your employees are making, that moment where they're getting recognized and you show them that how much you appreciate them and what they do, and that what they do matters and has purpose in the world, that means more to them than any paycheck. And that's all about formulating that culture, which more now than ever before, that's the reason why anyone a lot of times will like to work for you, is because their perception of whatever culture that you have. But it's certainly the reason why they'll like to leave your company is if you don't have that positive, uplifting, motivational culture where they are being recognized. So similar to what you're talking about, I found that the most powerful things I could do for my employees was recognize them in front of their family. So especially when their family was present for their moments of recognition, that was always so powerful. And anybody watching this podcast, when you're putting together recognition events or company cookouts and stuff like that, figure out a way to weave in their spouses, their significant others, because if they don't have the support at home, that's going to affect their mindset, it's going to affect their performance. This is a team sport, it's a team effort. That's one thing I'm grateful for. My wife, she was there by my side for 10 straight years as I'm working crazy hours, driving over no man's land. And she talked me off of many ledges, and she was my therapist, she was my rock. And she was willing to do it because the company did a pretty good job of recognizing her, taking her to company events, company vacations and stuff. So she was getting recognized like me along the journey. And I think that's really important. So it's amazing that you're doing all these things for every department in your organization. I love that you weave in even the production team with company outings and events. Because the more the whole team is working together, because a lot of companies, the departments become adversarial over time, where marketing is against sales or sales is against production. Everyone's blaming each other. Yeah. So the more you can keep everyone together rowing in the same direction, I think that's a very valuable lesson. So now on the topic of this, of course, we generate a lead, we sell a lead, and of course the next challenge is how do we make sure it gets installed and we have a happy customer? Because everything else up to that point, we're kind of selling a fantasy, right? We're selling this fictional story of what could happen in a perfect world, but now how on the back end of the business and the production side do we ensure that we're installing jobs properly and that we're making the homeowners happy? So what are some steps you've taken to ensure that you can keep up with the sales? Because sales is great, but only if you can install it. At the end of the day, that's what pays the bills. Yeah. How do we ensure that our production team is staying on track and delivering on the promises that our sales team is making?
Sure. So we watch our production backlog per product in real time daily, and we make adjustments to our production installation staff or what have you according to that. So if we start to get a little bit too deep in a certain product, we'll make adjustments for that to add some staff or whatever to help catch it up. So we are constantly watching that and making sure that we're not getting too deep into a backlog, because then you have cash flow issues. That, keeping up with production backlog is key to cash flow. Then during the installation process, we do have a project manager that's at every job site, or at least visiting multiple times a day. So that's key to customer satisfaction, because they have a point of contact and they get a final walk around with the project manager to address any installation related issues at that time or handle right on the spot. Then after that, we survey every single customer after the job is completed, and if there's any neutral or negative feedback or comments, we follow up with a phone call and see what we can do to make things right.
Yeah, and those are some of the best testimonials that I've found is sometimes when something does go wrong or a mistake is made, but then your company goes the extra mile to see that project through to completion, and at the end of the day, make sure the homeowner is absolutely thrilled with their experience, right? And documenting those things is absolutely key. So a lot of people talk about this in theory, but that's what's cool is you're actually executing that, you're actually living it, making sure that your crews are meeting and exceeding expectations, because ultimately that's what's going to cause your company to have a really good reputation or a terrible one. Are you delivering on your promises or not? And of course, you need to make sure our sales team is not promising things that we can't do.
Right.
Make sure that they're honest. But still, even with the best intentions, that does happen sometimes. But that's why I give production so much credit, because a lot of times it's treated as kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the industry. But how many happy customers would you have if you don't have quality crews and those production, managers and people overseeing these jobs to make sure everyone's happy? That's ultimately, again, what pays the bills. And when people are, figuring out their revenue for the year, you have to really focus on what's getting installed and collected. That's really what matters most. Yeah. And that also demoralizes the rest of the company if production's not keeping up. Because if I'm selling a job, we generate the lead, we sell the job, and then there's a 1 year backlog, that can be very demoralizing. And I've had that experience, right, where I'm getting everyone pumped up to go sell more, and they're like, Dominic, we have a 1 year backlog already. Why did we want to sell more? I'm like, good point. Let me refer your owners to a production guy that can help with that, right? It's like, so now obviously production's key. And then, when you look at a company, you got operations, you got all these things. So I guess your administrative staff and the people behind the scenes making it happen, I guess I know you have a lot of people even within your family that help out too as well, right? So can you explain some of the lessons learned there, and I guess how that's structured to make sure that customer satisfaction is, of course, set up?
Well, we designed a workflow that we call the workflow, and it's integrated into our software. So from the point of sale all the way through production, all the way through accounting, and then all the way through the customer survey, it's set up with like tasks and different steps of the process, so that if someone doesn't do what they need to do, it gets stuck. And in our culture, because we've built such an amazing culture, no one wants to be the person that drops the ball. And that's the great thing about having a great culture is everybody works together as a team. We have processes and procedures. Everybody knows what's expected of them, and they don't want to be the one that drops the ball or causes the failure. So everyone works as a team. It's great.
So it's amazing how many companies don't even have like a standard org chart or a flow chart or some workflow diagram that shows, from phone call to install, who's responsible for what. And that's important, right? Where everyone has absolute clarity on their lane, what they need to do to make sure when someone hands the baton to them, they need to take it from here to here. And I love that because it's a culture of accountability and responsibility where everyone wants to do right by your company, right? They want to make sure that they're not the weak link in the chain. Right. So I think that's great because it sounds like you developed an organization where they don't want to let leadership, they don't want to let their team down, right? Because this can be very selfish in a lot of ways, depending on how you structure your culture, where they're only thinking about themselves. But when you have a true team and people truly care about one another, then you have this again, and especially if everything's properly documented and laid out crystal clear in terms of your process and your operations, I think that is a phenomenal thing that everyone should do. So if you don't have those systems and those processes in place, definitely talk to us, because between Grosso University and many of the people that we work with, we can literally help you map out this stuff in detail. So you know, from the time that lead comes in to the time it gets confirmed and set to the time it gets sold, and then from there gets installed and collected, you know exactly what everyone's supposed to be doing, and having those systems and processes in place. Because that's going to be the detriment of companies, in my opinion, moving forward, is if you don't have everything clearly laid out in terms of your systems and your processes, everything optimized and documented clearly so everyone knows what their responsibilities are, it's going to be very difficult to thrive. And I'm assuming all these operational things you've implemented in your company are documented and trainable to others. So someone coming into your organization, they don't necessarily have to be the world premier expert on the subject. They can be trained to basically take over that role or responsibility.
Yeah, we have a company processes and procedures manual. It's all stored in Google Drive. And every person that does anything throughout the process has their own process documents that are updated as things change. So right now we have a purchasing agent that had hip surgery, and we're able to plug and play someone else in there because she updated all the process documents for her job, so that someone can just follow step-by-step instructions and calculate materials and process the order for them.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of owners in this industry have learned the hard way, is you can only get so far going the wild, wild west, shooting from the hip strategy. Get everything, all your processes documented, because it's risky to an organization if all your processes are stored in people's heads. Yeah. So get them, unpack them, get them documented, get them trainable, optimized. So if someone does get sick, or someone needs surgery, or goes on maternity leave, or whatever, there's a variety of things that could happen, then someone else can plug right into that role and get the information they need to keep business running as usual. Right. Especially for owners. Do you want to work in your business or on your business? Right. So, and this is what I admire about you, and we were talking about this before we started filming, is, you know, you're doing well, you're very successful, but I see you traveling all the time. You're going to conferences, you're going to seminars, you're constantly investing in yourself and your education. And that's one thing that I see a lot of owners, they get to a certain level of success and they feel like they have all the answers, and then the education stops. So I guess, have you always been that way, where you're always trying to learn new things and trying to grow? I guess, where do you feel that stems from, and why do you feel that's so important to continue to grow and thrive as a business owner, that you're constantly, you know, even the networking opportunities, right? Talking with business owners, successful individuals.
Yes, 100%. I didn't always attend these things. I attended a couple of them. GAF, or Master Elite President's Club, so we won an award, went out to that. You're only invited to that if you are. So that was one of my first exposures to that, outside of a Grosso event. But it was eye-opening, because my expectation was just to go there, maybe attend a couple parties, get an award, take some pictures. And it was something totally outside of that. There's a lot of educational things, and you can never learn all of this business because it's changing so much. I mean, just the stuff we've learned in the last few months of traveling with the upcoming marketing compliance things that we're going to have to be in line with. I mean, our marketing team is already busy behind the scenes making sure that January 25th, we are 100% compliant in all of our marketing for all of the laws that are changing. So you can't learn too much with this right. business. I mean, there's, product changes and so many different things. So, and the networking, like you just said, I've met so many great people, made so many great connections. I love all of the speakers on stage that have great stories to tell, but I also love all the small breakout sessions, like you said, people that are willing to share what's worked for them, what's working for them, what hasn't. Here's the mistakes I made. I love sharing those types of things in those groups too. I have notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks of notes from these I refer to all the time, and so we go to as many as we can. I mean, whatever we can get to, whether it's GF Wealth Builder, Top Workplace, Top 500, Grosso, you name it. If we can get to them, we always take away way more than what we spent.
The time investment and the monetary investment to travel out there. And that's one thing that I think we were talking about this earlier is I love about this industry is the most successful people that I've known. I know people that own $500 million companies all the way down to just starting, but people are willing to share. They don't hold their secrets confidential. And as a matter of fact, some of the most successful people that I know seem to be the biggest mentors and the most giving, because there's enough business for everyone. There's enough business for everyone out there. So, and I think by sharing, you're going to share something with somebody, they're going to share things with you, and vice versa. It's a simple adage that I know a few things that you don't know, you know something I don't know, together we can do great things. If you're not attending events, that right there is something that everybody needs to take seriously, especially in the coming years with how rapidly things are changing. Because, let's just talk about technology for a second. It used to be that the home improvement industry was decades behind the rest of the world when it comes to technology integration. Mm-hmm. Now it's actually becoming the opposite. The home improvement industry is one of the most disrupted industries in the world with technology and artificial intelligence and all these things. So you want to talk about the need to get out there, start attending seminars and educate yourself. Mm-hmm. If you're not getting prepared for what's to come, whether it be new laws and regulations or how to integrate technology into your business for your benefit, because you will not be able to compete with a company that is taking advantage of this technology. It's just not going to be possible. And some people are saying AI is going to be more disruptive than the internet. So think of that one thing, for example. What if you're trying to run your business now and trying to compete without the internet? Try that. See how that works for you. Now, worse than that is going to be if you avoid taking advantage of artificial intelligence and all the different things coming into play. So I know a lot of business owners that are literally attending events outside of our industry, just technology events, because they're trying to understand what the hell is coming, try to wrap their heads around this stuff. So now on the topic of technology, without getting too deep into the weeds, what are some things that you've done to integrate technology into your business? Maybe start to take a step into it, instead of taking a belly flop, but you're starting to weave more technology into your business to, make things more efficient or optimize certain things.
We've always had technology. I mean, back since I guess we started on spreadsheets and things like that when you're very small, but once you hit a certain point, it's impossible to try to keep spreadsheets.
Handwriting things.
So we've had technology implemented into every step of our business, every department for a long time, different systems. Some of them work together, some of them don't, but it's worth the extra step to, have it flow through the company. So from anything, we're from lead generation that funnels right into our CRM, appointment setting that integrates with the salespeople's iPads. They price things digitally. We have digital contracts. Everything is e-signed, and then it goes right into the production department, which I talked about the workflow, and that's every step. Everyone's clicking and checking tasks and Jetstream each other, which is like an inner mail thing. So everything is technology for us, and we keep adding things that are necessary, like I mentioned before, like filtering and making sure we're compliant with marketing. And there's a lot of necessary things for that. So
yeah, I just think about the beginning of my sales career where I was presenting on a 3-ring binder. That was my in-home presentation, and everything was chicken scratch on carbon copy agreements and stuff like that. And to see how that's evolved over the last 10 years, and now with AI disrupting the industry, it's going to be really crazy to see where this goes in the foreseeable future. So obviously a lot of great information, and we're not here to take all your secrets, but you've been more than generous. And I guess just to kind of wrap things up, ultimately you've run a successful business, you've done very well for yourself. I guess in terms of the people watching this, what is some kind of final advice that you can give our viewers in terms of how to run a profitable company? Because ultimately this podcast is Profits for Sanity. So if you could give any last advice to the business owners or any aspiring entrepreneurs watching this, what are some of the last things that you would like to leave them with in terms of running a profitable company?
And in terms of profitability, what I found is staying on top of little changes in pricing and making real-time adjustments, little adjustments that aren't very noticeable, instead of letting it kind of build up and making these big adjustments. So that really helps with maintaining the profitability. As far as the company itself, my advice would be focus on company culture if you don't already. That has been the key for us in where we're at today. And I feel like everything else just falls in line and works itself out once you establish that. It starts with our hiring process. From the time we interview anyone that is is applying for any position in our company, we talk about our core values. And it took us quite a while to establish our core values. Our leadership team met for hours, for weeks, for months, and mulled them over, wordsmithed, talked about them, disagreed on things, all those types of things. But it was worth every minute, because the core values mean so much to us that we talk about them when we interview someone, and we talk about how important it is to us for them to be adhered to, and that we hire and fire by these core values. And because we have led by example in that, we've built this culture where everybody has each other's back, and we really are a family. And, everything else, the day-to-day challenges are much easier to deal with when you have a positive environment. Yes. And everybody just will take the shirt off their back for the next person next to them. When you talk about departments fighting with each other, we just don't have any of that. We just don't.
Your company is always a mirror reflection of leadership. So that's just a testament to your leadership at the top, because the fish stinks from the head down, as we know. Rick Grosso always said you have the company and culture you deserve. So that's just a good testament to you. You deserve a great culture, a great company, because you yourself are a wonderful person. And not just saying that for me personally. Many people that I've talked to, as soon as they meet Sheila, they're like, man, this girl's a powerhouse. She knows how to have a good time, but she knows how to, make everyone feel important, feel special. And even just this podcast, I ask you to drive to Madison, Wisconsin to film a podcast. Within 2 seconds, you're like, absolutely, Dominic, I'd love to. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thanks for the episode. All right, we're going to wrap up this podcast. Sheila's going to help me finish the following quotation. As always in the world of business, volume is for vanity and
profits are for sanity.
Absolutely. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.